Chapter 15 Romance in the Chaos. Being involved with Erik means creating a substantial life for myself outside of the prison environment. Being a mother is a full time job, but I'm also a businesswoman. I'm very excited about creating a successful life for myself here in California. At the forefront of that dream is my new store. Erik has been involved with its planning and production every step of the way. When my work means missing a day with him, he is understanding and patient. He wants me to succeed and find fulfillment with my creative nature. Together, we decide on the name for the doggy daycare, bakery, and grooming store. It is a leap of faith, like many we will make together. I find a 2,700 square foot retail space in a small center at the heart of Folsom. I spend months with an interior designer planning the store to resemble the inside of a spaceship. The theme for my new venture, known as Planet Puppy. I have the walls painted by artists. I arrange for the ceiling to look like the sky and stars. I place tiles imprinted with moon and star patterns on the floor. My illuminated red and blue storefront sign is so large it lights up the sky at night. By January 1999, I am ready to launch Planet Puppy's grand opening. I arranged for one of Sacramento's radio personality duos, Sean and Jeff, to air from the store. I have banners and balloons and one special surprise that will make the whole day worth it by itself. I am so excited. I've called a local primate preserve and organized an outing for one of the chimpanzees. I'm an avid supporter of primate causes, and I have already launched an ad campaign featuring a chimpanzee and a small puppy in spacesuits with the tagline, Planet Puppy. We've landed. On this morning, Mickey the chimp will arrive for the opening in a tuxedo and red tie, ready to entertain the crowd. Mickey lives in a wonderful preserve. The owners are a couple by the name of Mary and John, and they operate a preserve with 16 chimps and an orangutan called Larry. Most of the animals came from various animal parks that didn't want them anymore. The preserve is their sanctuary. People pour into the store. Mickey is a hit. I don't think my visitors care that there's a doggy daycare on the premise. Sean and Jeff had joked and clowned all morning, mocking themselves, as a woman called to ask when the chimp would be there, and then dashed right past them in the store to be near Mickey. It's not hard to be funny when you're outshone by a monkey, and Sean and Jeff kept us laughing. Mickey, meanwhile, is being fawned over by over 50 men and women, and he loves the attention. Mickey hooks me on the idea of spending as much time and energy as I can helping the preserve. As with all animal rehabilitation and care centers, what they need is money. The preserve's current aim is to create wide open tracts of land for the primates, and so in one fell swoop, I open a new business and become a fundraiser and advocate for a local wildfire preserve. My first day at the preserve is one of the most exciting of my life. Mary and John talk to me about their hopes for the preserve and their intense devotion to their primates. Then they take me on a tour. We walk along a large sloping field with standing play areas and swinging tires. The habitats are at the base of the property, so the chimps can be independent of humans. Chimps need enrichment programs daily, and this type of area helps meet their needs. I meet Larry, the beautiful slow-moving orangutan, who observes me with amusing indifference. The rest of the primates are chimps. They're a rowdy bunch. Several of the adult chimps see me. Knotted with muscle, fluid in motion, they approach the fence walls of their habitat. Dark liquid eyes watch me, probing. I am so close I can hear them breathing and take in their musky scent. My heart aches from seeing them held captive. It pounds as if willing me closer. I wish there was a way to return them to the wild, but I know that it's not possible. While I am both fascinated and intimidated by these beautiful mammals, I can no more safely interact with them than I could a wild lion. Full-grown chimps are aggressive and powerful, many times stronger than a human. It is for that very reason that so many chimps become tragic characters of human neglect. People acquire them when they are young, sweet, and manageable, but soon their adult hormones, growing size, and strength makes them potentially lethal to humans. Fortunately, there are compassionate souls, like Mary and John, who protect and pamper the chimps. It's immediately clear to me that in order for the preserve to expand into larger play areas, my role must be to engage in major fundraisers for the primates. I grimly acknowledge the news. Fundraising, terrific. That means parties and dinners and mass interaction with strangers at every turn. That's never been my idea of fun. Of course, I have free will. I don't have to fundraise, but I know I'm going to. And when I take on a project, I pour myself into it. For the preserve, I draw up flyers, create newsletters, and make harassing telephone calls. I do my all to organize functions and gatherings that highlight the plight of the chimpanzees and Larry. Anything that will motivate people. to donate money. It's stressful, hard work, and I'm not particularly good at it, but my heart is fully involved and I'm learning slowly. I spend several days a week at the preserve working with Mary on the ideas while John spends all day tending to the needs of the chimps. They are a strong willed and dedicated couple. One of the obvious compensations for my work is the time I'm able to spend, an hour or two every so often, with the two younger chimps, Mickey and Jack. There is simple peace and joy at the preserve. I was born to do this work, to give myself in this way. The sanctuary is a golden slice of heaven, a hidden paradise on earth, where humans and animals coexist in the business of love. My new volunteering position, fundraising out of a small house in the hills of Northern California for these remarkable animals, fill me with purpose and hope. I feel alive, renewed. I have the best of both worlds. I'm in love with my soulmate, and now I have a sense of a greater purpose. Life is getting really good again. Back at the human zoo, the visiting room has become our home. It's hard to believe. I've never been in any other room with Erik. Our conversations and hopes for the future have spanned continents, crossed oceans, landed on islands, and entered on our own private coves. With Erik's love of history as our guide, I have traveled from prehistoric ages to the dawn of civilization, from the rise of Egypt, Greece, and Rome to the Middle Ages. Erik explains each period in vivid color. Although I was never engaged to any of my professors, I'm convinced all the same that Erik teaches history better than anyone I've ever known. As the months gather into years, we are gradually merging together in thoughts and words, and I find myself increasingly reflected in Erik's eyes. That connection is the one thing I hold on to. It's the axis on which I turn, or rather, am tossed about in the storm of complications that are inherent to juggling a prison relationship, being a single mother, and owning several businesses. Friends and family travel a great distance to visit us. Renee is more supportive now that she's repeatedly spoken to Erik on the phone. In fact, she hogs the phone when he calls me at her house. Her son Zach is enthralled with the whole Erik thing, and he and Erik get along great, which makes me happy because they're like family. Erik longs to see Andy, his first cousin, and dear childhood companion. But Northern California is a long way from Andy's home in Florida. They talk by telephone occasionally, and it's been arranged for Andy to be Erik's best man at our wedding. The rest of his family primarily live in Arizona and the East Coast. They fly out once or twice a year to visit and split their days between visits to Erik and Lyle. Erik and my mother have hit it off almost better than I do with her. The first day my mom came to visit, they talked for hours. Erik is rarely a passive participant in a conversation. He dives in and immerses himself in the exchange. I am precisely the opposite, and I suppose that's the attraction. Erik and I don't need each other's undivided attention, but unlike a traditional relationship, our time together is extremely limited. So we learn to savor each moment we have together, knowing that we'll need these times to survive the brutal years of lockdowns and violence that are so inherent to prison. For those brave individuals who have decided against the odds to hold tight to a relationship with a prisoner, intense feelings of separation and loneliness will be a more constant companion than their loved one. At times, the thought of our situation spirals me towards depression, and I wonder if I can really endure a life of solitude and accept the dark world of the prisons. The truth is, I don't know. Can anyone ever know? Some answers can only be found along the path we take. I am taking a leap of faith, believing that I can cope with the long nights of silence. I want to share Erik's heart and bathe in the immense love he has within him. I want to believe that love will always find a way, somehow, some way. Reality is much more intimidating. I know that I am a strong woman. I will find a way to make this love work. I also know that I am taking this leap because I have little other choice anymore. I know Erik like no one else. I know his goodness, his loving soul. I can't simply walk away. To do so would be to effectively turn away from a man I not only love, but who deserves the same in return, a man whose own loneliness threatens, at times, to undo him. I've heard Erik repeat a phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. All life and all experiences become our teachers. The bird at my window, the rain on my day off, the friend who misses our lunch date, the sunshine, the waves at my feet, the driver who cuts me off. These are all my teachers, only I usually don't have the presence of mind to view them that way. Recognizing the gifts life throws my way means being full-time, as Erik calls it, about our spiritual life. I like to watch Gary Zukav on Oprah. He says, every moment is holy, meaning every moment counts. It's almost hard to grasp the notion of being spiritually culpable for every moment. I think at the end of our lives, we should be able to take, say, our 10 worst moments and make them not count. Now that seems fair. Mickey the chimp is actually teaching me a lot. He may not come across as the wise sage when he first patters over to you, but the little hairy guy has some lessons up his sleeve. One of the lessons Mickey is teaching me is to appreciate the moment. Life can certainly be serious business, and growth comes from hard work sometimes, but each moment is also precious. Mickey derives pleasure from almost every act, whereas most of my actions are a means to an end. For Mickey, the wind is in his fuzzy hair, the rain on his skin, the sun in his eyes, the snow under his feet are not just elements of nature he must work around. They are life, simplicity, and presence, big teachers. So one morning, when I'm thinking about how much I have to do later in the day, Mickey the wise one tumbles towards me, literally rolling like a ball, and snatches a green wrapping paper from a basket of fruit I'd brought. This is trash and it will be thrown away. Mickey holds the paper up to his eyes. He swivels his head, examining the world through the green paper. He's getting excited. He's grinning and hooting. I wait for him to tire of the paper, but he doesn't. Now he's examining the objects around him more closely. Monkey business. Okay, what's all the fuss about? I pick up one of the other discarded pieces. Sure enough, the world is tinted green and looks very different. Sure, this was fun as a kid, but that was years ago. The sky is green. The clouds are green. The play area is green. Mickey is a green monkey. I stop. I laugh. He hoots. The world kind of does look brand new again. And for a brief moment, I stop thinking about what the world is supposed to look like and instead really see it, observe it, without labels or judgments. The hillsides, the trees, the sun, the green monkey. Now Mickey is staring back at me through his own wrapper. Suddenly, I feel Mickey's joy with the green wrapper, the simplicity of his excitement. It's an uncomplicated, peaceful moment, and for a time, there is nothing more than that moment. How strange that it takes a green chimp for me to discover what I should have already known. Whether I'm at work, the preserve, or with Erik, I feel the pieces of my life are slowly falling into place. With pride, I watch Erik and Talia become a pair. She has a permanent place on his lap and craves his attention. He reads to her, helps her sound out the words, and continues the steady drumming of the protect nature and wildlife theme. I suppose little girls do need dads. Erik seems to know this, especially when it comes to discussions about Chuck. Erik is careful and thoughtful in the way he describes Chuck. He tells Talia that her dad is in heaven, but that he still loves her very much, and that he watches her and gets great joy knowing that she is having happy days. Of course, Erik doesn't realize how crafty little girls can be. One day, Talia carelessly spills soda all over the table. This is usually Erik's specialty. Talia spills it in the middle of the protest over the fact that I am not allowing her to buy any candy until she's at least eaten part of her meal. I suspect she spilled it on purpose. She has inherited my stubborn streak. With a flurry of paper towels, Erik already began to clean the mess. He knows better than to contradict me in front of Talia. We've established a rule not to go against each other with her. I know perfectly well that if I wasn't here, he'd have given her candy long ago. Despite the spill and only one bite into her burrito, Talia continues to ask for candy. I repeat that she can have candy if she eats half of her burrito. She immediately begins to tear up. I know this trick, I'm not falling for it. But Erik can hardly bear it. Each rolling tear stings him. Erik tries to soothingly explain to her why it's not healthy to eat sweets before she's eaten her meal. But I don't want the burrito, she complains. Then why did you ask for it, I say. Erik suggests, maybe if I help her eat it? Erik, that's not the answer. She whines once more. I warn, Talia, if you don't eat your food, you won't get any sweets. At this, she pulls out all the stops. She bursts into tears and turns helplessly towards Erik. He immediately folds her into his arms and cradles her. He gazes up at me with his big blue eyes, silently pleading her case. But the poor girl is just so crushed, his eyes protest. I grin at him. You poor, poor man. If you lived with us, she'd have you eating out of the palm of her hand inside of a week. She buries her face into his neck, but I can hear her giggle. She turns to me, wiping tears from her eyes. Then she reaches over and gives me a light kiss. Erik declares that her burrito doesn't taste good. It's hopeless. I pull out $1. She runs to the machines. I turn to Erik and smile. You're pathetic. But secretly, that's exactly what I want him to be for her.